Ooh, I like this question a lot. Ty asked the importance of electrical engineering. How important is it to understand your gear? How important is it to have? Ooh. So I know it's a
good one.
It's a good question.
I want to respond really candid and honest. I don't give a fuck. I don't know it all. I have some of my closest friends can build one, can build anything you want. I've never been that good. I can look inside and I understand what parts serve what part to as a beginner. Like I understand. Who the fuck cares? If something breaks, get an expert to fix it. You don't need to know how to fix it. That's why, like, survive them.
Yeah.
Though one of the first things we talked about was a compressor. when I learned that when you have an attack, even at its slowest, it already compresses 1/3 of the attack off, the transient off. I was like, that's something I want to know about the inner workings of gear. But electrical engineering, let it be a passion. If it is a passion, let it be, and go build a mic preamp. But I want Doug Fern to design my mic preamp. I think he's better than I could ever be at it. I also think he's an amazing engineer. Could he mix a pop record now? That sounds competitive. I don't know, but that's what I do. And then we collaborate through gear. I don't think you have to know, I guess is my answer, anything about electrical engineering to be a great mix engineer or a recording engineer. I
certainly think it's true that you don't need to know. I mean, I'm going to answer the question, I think, or interpret the question a little bit differently, because I think I would say you have a pretty good knowledge of electrical engineering. Even though you would say you don't, because you know how deep it goes and you're not a guy who's building gear. But I think most people who are making music these days have zero understanding of what a transformer is, these sort of things. So I think it's worth people having a basic understanding of what these things mean. I mean, you know, that's one of the reasons we've talked about synths before. It's why I love the Juno 6, because it's very simple. You have to move knobs. Everything's laid out in order. And now I know about analog synthesis because, but I also am not programming FM synth stuff. I couldn't really handle a Prophet 12 because it was too deep. So there's levels to all this stuff. But I do think everybody should have a basic understanding of, like, how a microphone works. What is phantom power? Why is there is there a tube in some mics? But my bad. You know, but you're answering it from a standpoint where you do know quite a bit of stuff, and then you know super nerds. And you know, I worked with Eric Valentine for a long time. That guy was both an A-level producer, mixer, engineer, but also was building gear. And so I have a bunch of his gear. You have some of his gear. Like, there's a level to get to, but I think it's worth understanding some basics. And that, I mean, you know, like we talked a lot about last week, gain staging, signal flow, understanding a little bit about electrical engineering, not to the place where you need to take a course on it, but, you know, doing a little bit of reading and understanding how things work. If all of your experience is, I'm making a computer with USB mics and laptops, and you're building out from there, that's your starting point, rather than basements with cassette recorders. It's worth learning a little bit about that stuff, just so you have a handle on, like, what are these plugins trying to emulate? What does it mean to have input and output transformers? You know, why would you switch impedance for a ribbon mic? Like, understanding some of those things without understanding deeply what all those things mean is fine.
Just don't talk about this stuff in the room when there's an artist in the room. I think that's why I think it's why I viscerally acted the way I did. Is that's something that that's cool that you know. And
when you're writing a song, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and you can come to my conversation evening when we could talk about that we talk about that a little bit. That's just not what it's about. I think that's once it starts getting in the way of the creation versus sitting in the backdrop and informing how you create and how you don't clip your mic preamp or do when you want to. And I think that's why I have that reaction to it. Is
totally.
I know the extreme side of that, like that super nerd talk, and I'm like, I think that's why I do well, is because I don't talk about it.
Yeah,
and I know a lot of engineers.
But yet you have some of the most refined gear that it's important to understand why it's what makes it different from just something with a tube.
And I know how it works. I know why I like it. Like, you're right. I think I went a little bit aggressive there.
No, I like it. It's one of the reasons that these streams are so interesting, is because we are talking to people who are on the super nerdy high end of mixing and refining sonics, and people in their bedroom making beats. So, you know, it's always interesting to try to answer the questions for both people all over the spectrum.